Okay, YouTubers, this is Jack from ArtAlienTV, another game of Interplanetary I Spy going on here. Back to Gale Crater on Mars, and we're looking today at Sol Set 1991. Now this is fairly recent, this was only a couple of weeks ago I think. And there was this rather bland looking image with a large a huge kind of rock here, which is kind of split with these different brighter sort of deposit layers in between. These kind of lines all over it, which were not that interesting. And then I looked over here, okay, and obviously by the name of the video that you've already read before clicking on it, you would know what this is about. So there it is, just here. It's not very big. In fact, I would say it's only probably a few inches. The rover seems to be really up close to this rock. And this thing is quite small, like a lot of things we found on Mars, me and other researchers have found. They're kind of miniature scale or dwarf size or whatever you want to call it, about 1/3 size of what you would expect similar things to be on Earth, okay? And without doing anything to this whatsoever, you can see a boot shape there with a heel, very clear heel. The sole coming round there, it's got that angle there which you get at the back of the foot. The front of the boot there, what seem to be laces, 3 or 4 laces just here, different colour, and it comes up here. Now whether this bit up here is part of it, I don't know, it might be. It's probably tsunami wreckage. There's lots of tsunami wreckage in the area where there would have been a tsunami on Mars when the nuclear war hit. Whenever that was, I think it was 1941. I was actually the first person to say this, on YouTube at least anyway. Clyde Tom Barry was the guy who spotted a massive explosion on Mars in 1941. Dr. John Brandenburg has proposed it was millions of years ago. I don't think it was. I think it was probably 1941, which explains why a lot of the objects we're seeing aren't completely rotted away. Now this looks like a boot that's dropped in the mud, or perhaps washed into this area of Gale Crater, if there was a tsunami after a massive explosion or something. And it's ended up in this kind of little, I wouldn't say it was a trench, but this kind of depression in the ground. And it may have the water may have kind of flowed down here. You can see this kind of damp looking area. And eroded area around here, so it's kind of just deposited there, and this obviously would have been all mud, a lot of it, and it's kind of solidified and dried out and turned to a clay. I mean, it's kind of like a mud fossil, really. Now, let's have a look at the enhancements, because that isn't very clear. So I'm going to flick you through them now and show that I really haven't done much to enhance this. I've just brightened it, I've colour corrected it here. It's been colour corrected. It goes very blue, and it kind of helps, but it doesn't always. Here's a close-up. Look at the detail in here. Look at that. I showed this to my wife, and she goes, "Wow, it's a pirate-style boot." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I thought." She has similar boots herself that she wears. It's not very clear, and when you get in too close like that, it doesn't really help. Let's go back a bit. That's slightly better. You can focus on it better from a slight distance, like that. Here's the enhancement. Now, enhance the contrast there, as you can see. It brings the shape out more. There's the comparison there. Now, I've really brightened this up. As you can see, it's much brighter. And it's just on the edge of breaking up, this picture. But I've sharpened it a little bit and added more shadow and brightened it as well. So, there we are. What else can I say? There are other examples of boots and shoes that I found and other people have found over the years. I started finding them almost straight away, actually, when I first started making videos back in 2013, which is 5 years ago now. It seems like a long time ago. I first started doing these Mars videos, and I found a few shoes and things. And I haven't found any recently. This is the first one I found recently. But of course, if there were people on Mars, then there would be things like this left behind, and debris, you know, dropped in the lake or washed into the lake area, and then the water evaporated and left them behind to solidify in the muds and clays at the bottom of the lake. This would have been baked hard. So there we have it. It does kind of look, it's got this kind of folded bit here, almost like that's leather, like it's kind of folded. It has a sort of, the right sort of appearance, you know, the actual, I'm not saying it is leather, but it kind of looks like leather. That's perhaps covered in clay and then kind of solidified and baked. So this could be quite brittle and hard, if you know, who knows. But it really does. I mean, look at the detail here. Just there, you see that dark bit there? You can actually see the sole, the line where the sole is joined to the boot there. And where I brightened it a lot more here, that you can actually see the laces there. There's at least 3 laces, 1, 2, 3, which are a different colour to the rest of it. They've sort of got a sort of greeny browny tinge to them. It's there, okay? So look at the detail. I mean, this is the only one I could find on Google Images that was similar. It's not the same, of course. The heel's longer on this one. And this is obviously a woman's boot. This may not be a woman's boot. This may be worn by a man. I mean, men often, sometimes wear heels, especially old-fashioned sort of style kind of cowboy boots. They've all got heels and stuff like that, you know. So it's kind of a mixture of styles, really. But yeah, weird. What are the chances of that, finding a boot on Mars? But it's not the first one. I'll show you a couple more. I'll put a clip or 2 of this in at the end as well, so you can see it again. And there's some other comparisons here. It's kind of a bit like one of them, but not really. The heel's too high on this, and it's more pointed. This boot looks slightly more masculine shaped, a bit more like one of these, with the sort of squarer heel at the back, and I mean the laces go all the way up on this. I don't know a lot about fashion, as you can tell. Not my thing, but there we are. I mean, that was crazy, absolutely insane. So another quick look at it. Yeah, I mean, I was quite shocked when I saw this, and it's been sitting on my desktop now for a couple of weeks now. I kind of forgotten about it, and there we are. So what do you think of that? Is it an encrusted boot that's solidified in the dried out sediment from the bottom of the lake? That's what it looks like to me. Doesn't mean it is, though. It could be a rock, but would a rock have the laces in the right place and a heel in the right place and the sole in the right place with that detail there where it joins? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And I do have lots of other ones. I'll quickly show you some of them. Yeah, I mean, this was spotted by the Spirit rover a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, actually. And it's not a great image. It's black and white, but it looks like a shoe. Let's play it through a little bit. I mean, who's to say? It's a bit too vague. Unfortunately, we can't see if there's a heel here because the shadow's so heavy in this poor quality black and white image that you can't tell. But it does look a lot like a shoe. Not a great example, that one. There is a whole bunch of these, and I put them in a short playlist that you can check out. I'll put that playlist at the end of this video so you can click straight on it. There was this one I found really early on, 2013, and this looks like a shoe with a couple of laces on it. Now, I think this was from Sol 50, and this is one of my very early videos, this one, and I didn't really know how to enhance the images that well then, but it's not too bad. You can just about make it out. You can actually see the heel here. This looks like a leather shoe, just left on the ground. You can just about make out some laces there. A primitive leather shoe, I would say. But the image quality isn't great, and I didn't clean it up very well. You can see what looks like lace detail here. So that was interesting. There's this one which has laces as well. This is also another case of what looks like a boot that's been left in the ground and possibly got covered in mud and partially solidified. I don't know really. This is a weird one because you can actually see the lace hanging off here. Okay. Now either this is a rock that has a fossilized worm or creature on it, or it's a boot. It doesn't look like a boot, but it's kind of lying on its side, and we can see the sole here, the bottom of the sole here, and obviously that's the toe end of the boot, and it's like an ankle boot, you know. There we are. It's a bit like one of them, or one of these, you know. See? And there's the lace. I've highlighted the lace there in white, so you can see it more. But it's there. You can check all these out, and there's links to all the images underneath all these videos. There's this one, which is also a really early video I did back in 2014. This is from the rock nest area. There's also all this kind of petrified wood everywhere in this area. So there's the bag. It doesn't get very clear, but you can see that there's a seam up there with stitching. Now either this is petrified wood, and this is some kind of vine growth going up it, in and out of it, or it's an encrusted leather bag with leather thongs stitched through it, holding it together. And here's a close-up. There we are. You can actually see stitching going through it here, and the bag. This is the top of the bag. This is the bottom of the bag. Or it could be it could have had a handle on it like this, and carried over the shoulder. I don't know, but it may not be a bag. But either way, it does look like one. But with these Mars images, unless they're really up close and clear, it's really hard to say. There's also this one. This one got into the press, I think. Mystery Object Collection. Now, this is in one of my compilation videos, which is well worth watching. Mars Mystery Object Collection, Part 1. This is the unnarrated version. And this looks like a boot or shoe. More like a boot. But I think initially thought that this might be some kind of fungi sitting on this rock here, growing. You've got this weird object here. I mean, it is boot shaped. It kind of comes around like that, and it seems to have a hole in it here, or a part where you can put your foot in. But I don't think it is. I did it initially, but I sort of came back to this later and thought, hang on a minute, the coloration of it looks very much like some kind of weird fungi that's growing on this rock. Just crank the brightness up, add a bit of contrast, maybe sharpen it a little bit, and there you have it. Pirate style boot, a buccaneer boot, whatever you want to call it, on Mars. But yeah, the size is the real issue here for me. Let's go to the raw image and look at that. How small that is. Now, if the rover's right near this rock, the effective view range of this is probably about 8 or 10 feet away. Okay, so that makes that pretty small. I would say that's only about, what size would that be? It's about a size 4. Thanks for watching, everybody. That went on way too long, as usual. Clips coming up now. Thanks for watching. Please share on social media and give a thumbs up if you can. See you soon.